morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. I'm going to take you through a lot of the basics of Git today and take you through how to set up SSH keys that I talked about in the previous episode, so you can actually use the SSH command rather than the HTTPS, and we're going to go through all of that. Right now I'm going to play with the setup. I'm actually using a different mic today, so hopefully the audio is going to be okay. As you can see, I have some friends in the background that are sleeping, so you might hear them. Anyway, I'm going to do this real time, so please bear with me. I'm going to show you some of the aliases I've used in my Z profile, and everyone's like, what's a Z profile? Don't worry, I'm going to explain that too. So let's get into it. All right. That was the other thing I learned how to do, is how to set up a new mask that I'm using right here. So now it's a circular and it's not a square, and you can actually see a little bit more. And if I really want to, I can actually, I believe this is the command, and then I can hide it and then come back. So that's been a lot of fun getting all the production stuff set up. So as I said earlier, the production's going to get better and better. So please bear with me. All right. So this is my Z profile, super simple. I currently have an alias that does pod, so I'll show you what that means. So if I do Control Escape, right, that will actually show you the terminal window in VS Code. Ta-da. All right. So if I want to open a file in VS Code, it gives you a bunch of different stuff. All right, so open a file, open, right? And then I can go to wherever I want. So here's a pro tip here, is if I want to see everything, in here, I want to do Command Shift period. And that shows you all the files that are generally hidden when you're looking through things. And everyone's like, why would I want to see that? Because you want to see this file right here. So then if I open that, which I already have it open, it will probably have very little commands in it. So these commands might just simply be this. Now, what aliases do allow you to actually make shorter commands for things you want to do. I'll do alias home, and it'll just be a CD of that, right? So if I save this and I exit this, and then I come back to it, right? And how do we come back to it? You hit the Control tilde, and I am back to that. And then now if I type in the word home, it actually jumps me right to that. And that's the same with pod. So if I jump to pod, it'll take me to that pod. And obviously CLS. CLS I use all the time. All it does is clear the screen. I don't know why I set up that alias, but it's something I always do. All right. So now that we set up the profile, you will actually see from the previous episode, all my episode 1 right here. But we're going to get into Git. So the first thing I need to do in Git, right, from here to GitHub, is I need to go to my settings, right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new SSH key. So the question is, how do I do that, right? Well, you could Google it, just like everyone else does, SSH key gen mac. And let's follow the basics, right? So the truth is, this is all I need, that command right there. And I'm going to show you exactly that's how I would find it, and that's how I'm actually going to implement it. So then I go back to my code, and I can actually do a paste of that. And then it's going to ask me where to save it. Generally, this is fine, but I already have my own key. So what this is going to do is save it in my home directory.ssh under ID_RSA, and then it will also do it RSA.pub, and I'll show you. But I'm just going to call this jman for the sake of this. But I do want to save it in that location. I don't care about a passphrase in this example. And now it generated it, right? and it generated it right here. In your case, if you actually use the defaults, it would actually go into a directory called .ssh, right? And it would actually have an ID underscore RSA and an ID underscore RSA.pub. So if I go back to pod, remember that was an alias I used, and you're going to see those two files, jman and jmanpub. So I'm going to actually move them, move jman asterisk to that directory. So now you can see that those files went away. And now if I go into that directory, you're going to see them, jman and jmanpub. So now I'm going to show you a new command, which will actually allow me to see it. Cat jman.pub. And that is my key. You can copy it all you want because I'm going to delete it in about 10 seconds, but it's just enough so you can actually see it. So what you want to do is copy this key. And there's a lot of different ways you can copy it. They have the PB copy. I just use the cat command to display it. I select it. And then I will go into here and I'll show SSH and GPG keys, and I will say new SSH key. And I'll say jman S3 SSH key, right? And it even tells you what it should look like. And if you remember, come back here, it looks exactly like that. So if I paste this and then I add it, great. So now I added that SSH key. I haven't used it yet, but it's great. So now that I have that SSH key, if I go back to my repos and I will go to my podcast repo, now when I clone it, I can actually copy this from SSH, not this one. And the advantage of that is I can actually do a lot of things without having a password. It will actually use the key instead of me having to log in every time I want to do it. And it just makes a lot of the coding so much easier in regards to Git. So that should be good to go. I'm going to pause for a second. All right, so now that I am back here, let's see what my status is on this, right? Everything's up to date. But here's a command that will be very helpful, is showing you your remotes, right? So when you cloned it, it automatically created an origin remote. So as you can see, I am using the SSH one and not the HTTPS one. So then for this, I will create a new file and I will call it 2-github.markdown. And just to follow the standard, I will call it episode 2, GitHub and SSH keys. So to set up an SSH key, and you'll have all of this. So if I wanted to go back to here, I will copy this command. So we have the exact command that I did. And this is what it'll look like on the README. Let me show you that command actually while we're in this. So if I do Command Shift V, it actually shows what the preview looks like, which is kind of cool. Command Shift V, yep, preview. I like to put it on the side, so I bring that over here, and then I can look at this one. And there you go. So as I edit this, you can see what's going to happen over there. Then to copy your clipboard, there's another way to copy it, right? And then paste it under settings, SSH, GPG keys. Yep. And that is all correct. And now you can actually use, SSH to clone your repos. And it's git clone, and it'll be, use git clone command. And you know how to get the repos. As you can see, a lot of this is being autofilled for me. That is the wonderful features of GitHub Copilot. Shout out to GitHub Copilot. Huge fan. All right, so let's keep going. So now that I have this and I've created a new file, if I do this and I do git status, you're going to see I have a new file. So git add to add the file, and then git commit updated, added new file for episode 2. Great. And then don't forget to push. So now if I go back to here and I go to that repo, boom, you will now see this file and you'll see the commands and exactly how to do what I just showed you. So that is the basics of Git. That allows you, I showed you how to clone something, how to add something. I'll put these commands right in here. Popular commands in Git, and I'll do this. Git status, git add, git commit, git push, git pull. That creates a new branch. That checks out a branch. I think that's enough. And just so you can see all of that in a more readable format, right? This will add all the files. You can add a specific file if you want to. So if you're going to add a specific file, you just do git space add space the file name. All that depends on where the location of the file is. So if you have a different hierarchy of your folders and you actually try to pass that down, you'll need the full path to that file from your current working directory. So a lot of people are like, how do I know what my current working directory is? There's a really cool command. And it is pwd, and that shows your current working directory. As you can see right now, I'm on podcast, and yay for me. All right, so now if I type in git status, you will actually see my current status. So to add this new file, if I just want to add this one file, I can do this. Git add just that file. So now if I type in git status, you can see it's been modified, right? So it's currently staged, right? And it's ready to be committed, but it's not committed yet. So to commit it, I still have to do the commit added to GitHub Markdown, right? So now all I've done is committed it locally. It's still, if I go to the repo right now and I go into here, actually, I've already previously added it. I modified it. But you won't see all the new modifications. So let me show you. So as you can see, it doesn't have all my new changes here yet, right? So to do that, I do have to do that git push. And what that's going to do is automatically default to origin. So it's going to take my local files, my local repo, and push it to what my remote origin is. So git push and da da da. So now if I come here and I refresh, you'll now see all those other commands here. Right. And that is the basics of Git. Now, there's going to be some people that might have some problems. They're like, I already have an origin set with HTTPS. How do I get rid of it? So let's show you that. So if I do git remote -v, it will show you what my current one is. So if I do git remote, I think it's remove origin. And now if I do git remote -v, I don't have anything. So right now, if I try and do a git push, it'll fail because I don't have my remote set up for origin, or actually for any in this case. So now to do that, I will come back here and I'll go back to my podcast. And then for my podcast, I'm going to copy this right? And then I don't want to clone it in this point because I already have a local code base that matches it. I just need to say I want to push to that remote. So to do that, super easy. Git, remote, add, give it a name, use origin if it's your first one, because that's what Git uses for the default, and then paste that location. So now if I push, it gives me the error about the upstream because it doesn't know that my main is going to match that main. So what I can do is do git push, and it even tells me exactly what to do. You can type dash dash set upstream or just dash u origin main. And now if I do git push, everything's up to date, everything's back to normal, and I'm using the SSH key, not the HTTPS. So if you had an HTTPS remote when you originally set that up, you can actually remove it and now use the SSH key that you've just created. I think that's about it for Git. That's the basics, truly the basics. I mean, there's a lot of other things about merging, and then what if somebody has this branch and I want to fork this branch and then I want to actually push to their remote and all of that. There's so much you can do with Git, but I'm not going to get into all that. I'm keeping this as simple as possible just so you can move forward in your coding career. As you get deeper into things and start getting merge requests or pull requests, and then reviewing them and then approving them, accepting incoming changes, and then maybe you want to cherry pick. Don't cherry pick. How to do reset hard? How do you actually go back? How do you revert a change? There's so many more things you can learn. I'm keeping it really simple right now for this, and I think that will be enough to get you started. So let me know if you have any questions. They're still sleeping. Anything I can do to help, just hit me up on our Slack channel or hit me up on one of the comments and I will respond to the best of my ability. We'll work together through it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode.